Hi everybody, it is a beautiful day, and so I thought I would show you around what's going on in my vegetable gardens. As you can see, everything seems to be growing rather nicely. So we'll come around and I'll try to stay out of the sun myself and show you the things that I have growing here and how they're doing. One of the first things you'll notice is how big my onion bulbs are getting already. These guys have got at least a month to go, and they are looking fantastic. We'll go down and look at the red onions when we get down to that end of the garden. Obviously, plenty of weeds and grass. I think a lot of this stuff comes in with the straw. This plant right here, which is hard to see but has a little flower on it, is my Calypso Bean, which is a bush bean plant. I planted a nasturtium from seed in the corner here. That's about as good as it is right now. And then we have my tomatoes. Look at these things, you guys. They are so big and healthy. Now I went through and I cut some of the bottom leaves off, but I might do a little bit more pruning down at the bottom. This one and the one next to it right here are both Cherokee purple tomatoes. This one has flopped itself over quite a bit. Oh, it came off. I've been using, or I started to use these little clips to hold my tomatoes to the fence. I'm gonna have to put this one back up in a minute because if it grows down here, it's gonna crowd out that one there on the that's growing on the other side. And this one is a black from Tula tomato. And I definitely want all of my tomatoes to grow really nice, but kind of independently from each other. Down here, kind of underneath, I have some basil right there, which I'm going to chop the bottom leaves off the tomato and expose that to a little bit more light. Here I've got a Black Beauty tomato. Look how gorgeous this is. It's huge. I mean, we've just got another beautiful big bushy tomato plant. I think one reason my tomatoes are so bushy is because they went through that bad freeze and they survived, but the tops died. So that was as good as decapitating them, and they've bushed out from there. So I have quite a few branches, but I'm not willing to get rid of them. I'm not that vicious, and I have to just see what happens. I know there will be many people who say, well, if you prune those tomatoes, you'll get better fruit or something like that, but I just can't do it. Not to that extent anyway. This giant clump here is carrots. Whew, that's a lot of carrots. Now, there's a variety. They were kind of planted in rows, and I don't know how well that lasted. And some of them look like they're going to go to seed. I'm not sure if they're going to flower and go to seed or not. I've pulled up a few from this side, and they're still rather small. But I need to pull out some more because other than the weeds that are also in here, these guys are also crowding out this tomato plant a little bit. I want this tomato to have more sun, so I'm gonna have to just pull some of these carrots. So let's see what we got here. I'm gonna pull this one right here. As you can see, like, this was a clump of carrots and they're still pretty small. Like, I can eat these as baby carrots, but that's not really what I want. But just pulling a few from around the tomato plant is going to help. Oh, look at these. These are worth picking. Not the hugest, but you know what? They will go nicely on a salad later. Just going to hang them right up here for a second. And that's it. I'll just, that's enough to clear out around this tomato a little bit so that the tomato itself thrives. This is my purple Bumblebee tomato. So it's going to be like a cherry tomato variety. This one doesn't have any flowers on it yet. But if I look 2 plants over at this one, I actually have baby tomatoes. The baby tomatoes are on, let me see if I can find the label for this tomato plant. It's called Chocolate Sprinkles. So this is my Chocolate Sprinkles tomato, and it has babies, and that's exciting. So Like I said, I need to do a little bit more pruning in here and a little bit more cleanup so that everybody gets the ideal amount of light. One other thing I've noticed is that, look, I have volunteer tomatoes as well in here. I'm not really certain what variety they are, but last year I had sun sugar cherry tomatoes, which is the same as this plant right here, growing in here, as well as a darker cherry tomato, and I don't remember what it was called. And they were growing right about here, so my guess is potentially that that's what that baby tomato is, but you never know. There's more volunteer tomatoes in here as well. So let's move on because this takes forever. Last week I harvested most of this kale that was here. I pulled it out. It's really the end of the season for root vegetables. I mean, not root vegetables, for those kinds of cold weather crops. I still have some in here, but I just pulled it out so that there would be room for these other things to thrive that I have in here, because kale takes up a lot of space. Got another nasturtium here, and this end of this garden bed, these tall green plants are my garlic, and my garlic looks fantastic. As you can see, I've cut all the garlic scapes off of this already, so that was last week. All the garlic scapes went, so a couple more weeks, when they start browning on the top, the garlic will be ready to eat. Now this cool plant here with the beautiful red flowers is a black coated runner bean. I actually chose to grow this bean because it had red flowers, and I just thought that was cool. I thought that growing up this trellis and over the arch, the red flowers would look really neat, and so that's why I grew this bean. But I'm hoping that it'll make a good cooking bean, like a dry bean to save to make chili and things like that. I really don't know exactly what it's going to turn out like. I've never grown it before. Down here, these are Armenian pale green cucumbers. There's two plants that sprouted, and they look okay. We'll see. They're small. And this one over here is a straight 8 cucumber plant. I planted 2 of these, but I only have 1. Next to it is a nasturtium that I stuck in the corner. And growing underneath in the garlic is actually lettuce that I may or may not get around to harvesting. So now let's come around and have a better look at the garlic. The garlic, as you can see, looks fantastic. I have not pulled any of it to see how big the bulbs are. I guess we're gonna find out when I harvest it in a month, but it looks really good. Look how thick these stalks are. I hope that that is a sign of good, thick, big garlic in the end. So, and then we're back to the tomato end of the bed. Now we can go on to the other garden. Obviously I have my little pot of herbs in the middle. This is just sage and lavender. I've got to cut the flowers off the sage. They're done. And then let the sage green out again. Now we have the other garden bed over here on this side. And as you can see, it's just as packed full as the other. So what we're going to start with, I guess, is right here, this plant and the one next to it. There's 2 of them in here. This is a spaghetti squash variety. So it's spiny. I keep stabbing myself with it, and it looks like I have some buds forming, and it's climbing nicely. So this is expected to climb over this trellis. That's what I'm hoping for. Next to it right here in the middle is eggplant, and it looks like I have buds on this eggplant as well. There's 2 eggplant plants. One's down there, it's teeny and didn't do anything, and the other one is right here. Surrounding it all the way around the garden bed is red candy onions. These are the same candy onions as the other, but they're red. And right here, this tiny little plant, I'm not sure if you can see it right here, that is a Thai butterfly pea. It's cute and little. What it's really supposed to do is grow up and make cool, really cool flowers that you can use for tea or to dye things, or it's going to look pretty on the trellis if it actually gets higher than the height that it is. To be honest, I don't think it's getting enough sun where it is. I think it's being crowded out with this squash here and my onions, which are really huge. This squash is my honey nut butternut squash. It's another one that the intent is for it to climb up this trellis and go over the top and be out of the way. But right now it's putting a lot of shade on top of this butterfly pea. So I think once I harvest the onions, which should be the mid to the end, maybe, well, that might not be till July. That'll have more light. Maybe it'll just get bigger. And finally, once it reaches the light, do well. We'll see what happens. I've got another little nasturtium over here. It hasn't done much. And also over here is another cucumber. This is pretty small too. This one is the muncher cucumber. And they really just haven't done much. And I really think it's because I planted them with so much other stuff. I think I might end up harvesting some young onions from this side that I just cook and eat right away fresh before they're really ready. They'll taste really good that way. I mean, I used one in my soup today actually. And now into the middle of the garden where we have all of my pepper plants. Now these pepper plants also suffered from the cold when it was cold, but look at them now. These look great. Some of them are really small, but this one I didn't even start till last month. This is an Aleppo pepper seed plant, and that's a newer one that I added. Didn't get started when all the rest did. But really, they're looking pretty good. I also have this dill here. The dill volunteered. The dill was left over from last year. I'll probably collect the seeds again this year, but it goes pretty crazy. I've already pulled out 5 or 6 dill plants and thrown them away. I really just can't use that many dill plants. It would take over if I let all the babies grow. So, and I noticed this giant weed when I came through here a second ago. So we'll get this guy out. And hopefully everything that you can see here continues to do really well in the garden. Yeah, that's it for how my vegetable garden is doing this year. So we'll pick this up again another time when we can check and see the progress. I mean, right now it's the beginning of June 5th to be exact, and I expect things to change pretty quickly going forward. Have a great day. Bye.